Hey, good morning, folks. Good morning from the office. I'm your host, BKP. We are North Georgia's only live online morning show, 8 a.m. Let's see, let me make sure I'm right. Is today Tuesday? I always have to check, right? So, Josh, let's start right out. Show everybody, all the viewers, how you can always contact the show. Tell me what you think. I know the light is a little better this morning, but the mountain background's a little washed out. That's because it's a little foggy out there this morning, folks, where I'm at. There's our phone number, and I have it right here. So you can always contact the show. Tell me what you think. There's the email address and all the social media ways you can follow us. Josh, today we have millions this week, that are going back to school. So today is the first day of school for millions of kids out there. And Josh, I gave you several pictures this morning. Actually, 59 we're going to go through, and we're going to talk about everything. But I want to talk about back to school. We're gonna take everything in the direction that the deep state, I call it, if you ever go on our Facebook page, I always call it the deep state corporate corrupt media. Now, yesterday the president came out and he talked about red flag laws. We're going to get into that today. We're going to get into what the president said. Now, as you well know, if you're new to the show, I'll let you know right out. I support the president of the United States. Okay, I do. We're going to talk about the shooters. Now, we're not going to go into the detail of personally talking about them, but what happened in this country? What took place? Now, let me tell you something. If you go back 20 years, we'll just go back 20, 30. Now, the deep state corrupt corporate media will tell you there's all these mass shootings 20 years ago. We know Columbine. We know things have happened. But if you go back years ago, we did not have the mass shootings, and we did not have what we have going on today. But we never asked ourselves, what changed? What changed? I want to highlight something before we get into the red flag laws and what the president said and how the media is going nuts over what he said, and the president's visit to the border and how he's not welcome there, according to several Democrats. We're going to talk about the rhetoric coming from the Democrat candidates. Joe Biden invokes KKK. We'll look at that a little bit. Beto O'Rourke uses his Sunday school language to describe what he thinks of the president of the United States. You remember back, okay, let me say this. First of all, folks, if you're new to the show, welcome, first and foremost. But I always treat this show like family. This show has grown in an organic way that I know everybody viewing is people that I feel I know, and you know me. And I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. We'll leave it there. Okay, I just did not get a lot last night, so I'm going to power through. But we got a lot of good stuff. Remember when, was it Elijah Cummings? Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to Google this, and we'll go into the next break. Remember when Nancy Pelosi was carrying the gavel, okay, up the hill, and she was going to gavel in the passing of Obamacare? Remember that? Let's stay with that a minute. And there were chants. The rope line had protesters, and there were chants, kill the bill. Remember? Kill the bill. Americans standing there yelling, begging, kill the bill. Don't do this. Was it Elijah Cummings? And we'll look at it. I'm just doing it from memory. I'm doing it from lack of sleep. Was it Elijah Cummings that said he was called the N-word? Remember? Somebody was called the N-word. Remember that? And the media searched. I mean, they searched. They put audio detectors on everything, and they did a thorough search to see which one of those mean white people on the rope line that did not like the president of the United States, did not want universal Obamacare put in place. Not universal, but you know what I'm saying, Obamacare. They were looking for that word. Remember that? They searched and searched. And the reason I'm doing this is the media has waited. They have waited for God knows how long. Remember how you and I were treated as the Tea Party? Remember that? Right? Period. They searched for that word that day. They searched for 8 years for all of the bad things you and I may have said. They went to every rally they could find, and they took pictures of posters that were made that were so ugly about Obama. But they never had in all those years one of those, okay, people, the Tea Party group, didn't have the mass shootings, nothing. But they searched hard for 8 years. They went on every day of how much we hated Obama, how racist, right? We hated Obama. Nothing. They couldn't come up with nothing. So we'll leave it there. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I want you to think about it. Today marks, and Josh, put up number 59 if you can, school buses. School buses. Millions of kids are going to school this morning in America. Millions. Okay. We have spent, taxpayers, billions of dollars. So kids are going back to school all across this country. They're going to get on the school buses, and they're going to go to schools this morning that have had teams of specialists, teams of contractors go in and wire and equip the schools with cameras, safety devices. You, America, have spent billions of your tax dollars on training resource officers for schools. Billions of your tax dollars, cameras, security latches on the door, bulletproof glass. Billions of dollars have you spent on school buses for safety issues. Because why? We all agree on one thing. We want to do anything we can to keep our kids safe. But under the guise of fear and shootings and Parkland and so many of those kind of things, you and I have allowed our children to be put into lockdown institutions for so many hours a day. They cannot travel from hall to hall. If you have a B hall and a C hall and an A hall, those double doors latch. They cannot go back and forth without somebody actually scanning them through. There's schools all over America. There's different kind of safety devices that they're scanning your kids, everything. But you know what? We did it under the guise of keeping our kids safe. I get it. In fact, I think about a mom or a dad that has to leave and go to work this morning, that has a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 11-year-old headed off to school. You want to make sure when you get home, your kids are safe. I get it. We never discuss why and what the causes are that happened that your kids are unsafe. No, we don't do that. We don't do that. We don't look at the reasons why your kids may be unsafe today. It's not the guns. We get yelled at every time. Oh, that's an NRA talking point. It is not the guns. Absolutely not. I said it yesterday. I'll say it today. It's the societal, moral decay in this country that we're not coming back from. So as your kids venture off to school, I just typed in, and we'll get to all the exciting stuff. This, the stuff the media is sensationalizing. Are you not disgusted on the rhetoric of like they enjoy this? Do you have no disgust? You see the president of the United States, he comes up and he does everything to give a unifying message to the country. And you see bylines. I'm going to put the bylines under there on the president's rhetoric stokes this. The president's rhetoric is stoked violence. Are you here to tell me that there's no deep state, corporate, corrupt media stoking any violence? Really? Maybe some red flag laws in place might stop them from spewing their hate and rhetoric? I don't think so. So schools were off to school this morning. I thought I would type in, and I'm going to just do this really quick. I typed in school buses. And I got 3 articles that I want to just highlight. With the school year approaching, local divisions are hiring bus drivers. So the first one is a story. I think it's from, I'm going to pull it up. While the school year approaches, local divisions are hiring bus drivers. This Virginia Beach school district is short 45 to 50 bus drivers. I know, I get it. You really are coming on this morning and telling us that Virginia Beach is short 45 to 50 bus drivers. Have you driven around your local area? Now, I'm in the North Georgia area, North Georgia. And it's not because the economy is doing so well. Even back when the economy was not doing so well, jobs were not available, you drive through on the main highways and you see a big school bus, your taxpayers' money paid for. You see a big school bus, and it says now hiring bus drivers, right? Now, I'm not going to bring up names, but I've met with several superintendents of schools. I've talked to several people involved in the school systems. They have a little problem getting people to drive your little angels to school. They do. Little problem with that. Then you got the other one here. I just went for 3. This is out of Cleveland. Strongville schools to buy security cameras for 65 buses. The Strongville schools will buy 260 security cameras for 65 school buses at a total of $121,000. Now, you don't want to hear when I was a kid stories, right? But when I was a kid, we didn't have a security camera on a school bus. We didn't even have these instant cameras, so we didn't have one. When I was a kid, the bus driver said, little Johnny smacked this kid, and he was trusted or she was trusted, the bus driver. When I was a kid, the bus driver walked in, jerked you up, 2 of you that wouldn't sit down, that got in a fight, took you in the principal's office, wrote the report, and you got in trouble because your mom and dad found out you didn't act right on a school bus. Now, I know you feel maybe I'm wasting your time this morning. Maybe you do. Because all of America's concerned on how we're going to stop the gun violence, and it's not gun violence. Guns are not violent. They lay dormant until you choose to use them for whatever reason. They don't get up and shoot anybody by themselves. I know with all the sensationalizing going on and the possible things I could speak of that I'm talking about this. Why? Because your kids are going back to school. Why? Look at the age of these shooters. Look at the age of the Parkland shooter and how messed up that kid was. Look at the age with 21. Is 22 people dead? 21. Look at the age up there in Dayton, Ohio, right? 24. So 121,000 in school security cameras for buses. Okay. And one more, and I will stop with the back to school and the school buses. DeSoto Parish school rolls out school buses tracking app. Okay, today is the first day. This is August 6, 2019. It's the first day of school. Today is the first day of school for students in DeSoto Parish. And with a new school year comes a new way for parents to track their children's school bus. You can get an app. According to the DeSoto Parish School District, the app will allow parents to track their children's school bus in real time. Parents will be able to set up notifications or alerts, keep families aware of bus arrivals and departure time. You'll have this whole app tracking the children for your safety. This morning, there is what's called parent drop-off and pickup lines. Now, I want to make sure that everyone in America knows I got no problem if you want to drive your kid to school. I got no problem with it, okay? I got no problem if you want to pick your kid up after school. I got no problem if you don't want your kid to ride the bus. Millions and millions of school buses in America today are riding around the roads empty. That's right. Go check. Empty. Why? Because parents want to take their kids, because parents feel much safer than putting them on a school bus. They want to pick them up. That's the fear that they're living in. But we never talk about the causes of what's happening. I, for one, get really worked up over the fact that we're sitting here trying to figure out what happens, what took place, what the manifesto said, everything under the sun. And the only solution we can find is destroying the Second Amendment, destroying your freedom of speech on the internet or wherever it may be, destroying anything we have to get your guns out of your hands. We sit here, and the only answer lawmakers have, and it's a sad state that we call them lawmakers, the only answer lawmakers have is how to prohibit you from buying, prohibit you from having, prohibit you from keeping, and God forbid here in the future somebody says, just sends a message and says you're crazy to the tip line, a gun. That is the solution. Why, if universal background checks, why, if we close this loophole, if we make it harder to get, if we outlaw military-style weapons, that's what you hear all day long. Nobody talks about, as school opens this week all over the United States of America, that in the last several years, billions of dollars have been spent to institutionalize, not send your kids to school, damn it. Get that straight, to institutionalize our children in this country for a period of time throughout the day. Lockdown, total lockdown. But yet, we don't look for the reason why. We look for keeping them safe. You have a generation, and I keep saying, I know how upset you are. You have a generation, you look at these kids 21 years old. I said it yesterday, kid 21. Do you realize they started at 10 years old under Barack Obama and eating school lunches from Michelle Obama at 10 years old? They went through those institutional schools. They're in lockdown. Do you realize what those kids have gone through? We are reaping the generations of children that we gave the government. If your child starts school this morning at 5 years old, we'll talk about 4 or 3, kindergarten, you are turning them over to the government to institutionalize. Your 5-year-old in just 10 years, 15 years, 20, And you will have kids graduating, not even 20 years from now, that totally believe that their only safety is a lockdown institution. They will not feel safe unless they go to office buildings that are totally locked down institutions. That's what we're doing. Not the cause. Not what really happened. Not what we have to do to turn things around. Now, the President of the United States, I'm going to leave it like this. I'm going to take a brief break. Yesterday, the President said we will have red flag laws, extreme risk protection orders. We are hearing mental health. Mental health. So why, while your children, I know you're so damn angry at me right now, but while your children are going through their institutional training, I love, let me tell you out there, if you know who you are, I love the teachers. I'm still a big fan of teachers. Big fan of teachers. Just that, teachers that are teaching the children. Not a part of the institutional, system that we have. I'm still a fan of a lot of the principals, still a fan of a lot of superintendents, good people that I do know. But they are sitting in a new school year with all kinds of red tape, all kinds of security. I know superintendents that spent more time in the last several months looking at security contracts with people, looking at security systems for doors, windows, everything in these institutions that we're sending our children. And it bothers me when we talk about mental health. Your children, and I know there's so many of you that are losing it on me. Your children, if you drop them off at 5 years old in these institutions, they will be studied. They will have mental health evaluations. I'm going to say the craziest damn thing you've ever heard. They may have to graduate from high school and also get their mental health certificate, allowing them to be able to purchase a firearm. Well, BKP, you've lost your damn mind. I know you didn't have any sleep because listen to you. No, I know what they're doing in these schools. I ask parents to take your children back from the government. Do not fall for under the guise of safety that your children are going to be mentally evaluated. Listen to every damn word the media says. It's mental. These kids have a mental problem that are shooting things up. I get it. Guess what? They're going to evaluate our social media to see if we have a mental problem. The same person that says to Facebook, hey, I feel offended by your post, is going to be the same person that turns you in that thinks you have a problem, that you shouldn't have a firearm. Let me say this. So this is going to be the kick. When I say this, you're either going to come back and join me after commercial because we're going to get into all this sensationalized stuff the media is doing. We're going to get into Beto O'Rourke and his foul language and his rhetoric. We're going to get into the KKK with Joe Biden. We're going to get into the Democrats say the president is not welcome in El Paso County. But what I say right now, if you come back after the break, then you're here for the long haul. Remember, it wasn't long ago. You keep having these things hidden under a veil that nobody talks about. It wasn't long ago, whether you realize it or not, that transgender was considered a mental health issue. Oh, yeah, it was. It wasn't long ago. Transgender was considered a mental health issue. May 29th of this year, 2019, just a little, but not even 2 months ago. BBC News, May 29th, transgender no longer recognized as disorder by World Health Organization. transgender health issues will no longer be classified as mental and behavioral disorders by the World Health Organization. That was in May. So you want to tell me if those people are not crazy as hell, you're going to start reviewing who has the mental health capacity? I'm going to tell you something. If a transgender is not considered bat crap crazy and is going to be able to go in and purchase a firearm, and we're going to allow the government to decide who has a mental disorder, my God, they just got to watch one episode of this show. Josh, let's take a break, and then we'll get into all the fun stuff, that sensational stuff that's got everybody's ass glued to a TV. Be back right after this. By the way, good morning. Take us to break, Josh.